What happened to K-pop? That's the question I'm going to be trying to answer in this video. I started listening to K-pop during the rise of artists like BTS, TWICE and Blackpink. At that time I was 17 and that's when I was first shown DNA by BTS, and the first thing I noticed was the colour, the saturation and just the vibrance about the video. But then going deeper, I noticed what the sound of K-pop truly was during this era. I don't want to sound like I'm an old timer, but K-pop in this era, it felt more genuine. Artists were making music for themselves, for the fans, and not just for the charts. The thing with current day K-pop is that it's so dominated by success. It's dominated by the charts and brand partnerships. So much of the music in the charts now from K-pop artists is just predominantly English lyrics, and it loses the depth of meaning because the lyrics they use are only really designed to be catchy and repetitive, so it kind of gets people hooked and it gets a higher ranking in the charts, because to a lot of the big conglomerates out there right now, all that matters to them is immediate success for a group. So many groups will be debuted by a conglomerate like HYBE or JYP, YG, and they'll be dropped after a few poor album releases, only for them to be replaced by another debuting group before the cycle just repeats and repeats. The issue with this is that the artists of those groups are just so manufactured to focus on these three areas to define if they're a success or not. I think a lot of the issues with the current crop of K-pop artists is that they're expected to be an instant hit, whereas the previous generations had years of work before they broke into those international markets. I mean, Blackpink, as successful as they've been, they only really broke into mainstream media after Kill This Love in 2019, and they debuted 3 years prior to that. TWICE debuted in 2015, and they've only really become a Billboard Hot 100 charter in 2021. And obviously the most famous group, BTS, they debuted back in 2013, and they didn't even reach global popularity until 2017. And it's no disrespect to the current generation, but at least to me, it just feels like because of the success of the previous generations, the expectations of these new generation artists are just heightened way above where they should be. It all just feels a bit too artificial. Another thing that really bugs me with the current genre of K-pop is just a lack of colour in everything. Even groups like TWICE, who are known for their bubblegum K-pop style, have transitioned to a less colourful palette. It's a bit like how everyone complains nowadays that everything in the world is grey, white and dull. Like, where has all the colour gone? It's all just so dull and boring. I know that interests shift and the market adapts, but I think a key part of what makes K-pop itself was the pastel colours, the overly saturated music videos. A really good example of this dullness is Blackpink's Jump music video. Now, I actually don't mind the music video, but the thing that stands out to me, there's just this really weird grey filter over the entire thing, and it just takes away all the life from the video. This is not to say that the lack of colour is always bad. I think when a video is stylized, it can be great. Take J-Hope's Killing It Girl music video, for example. That's a great use of black and white colour grading mixed with a tiny bit of colour for the final chorus. And there are examples where these pastel colours are still present in modern day K-pop, but it just feels that like post 2022, K-pop's just all become a bit bland and samey, especially with the art style, which is so dull these days. Whereas from 2017 to 2021, it just seemed like we had more life in each music video, or at least performances just felt they were more genuine. One final point I just want to kind of touch on with K-pop now is just the sort of TikTokification of music. I think this is a really prominent issue, not just within K-pop, but within the music industry in general. TikTok was only just becoming popular in what I would call the golden age of K-pop, but nowadays TikTok is just everywhere, and as a result of this, so many songs are just tailored towards that. Choreographed dances are just seemingly easier so that the average person can recreate them in an attempt for the song to become viral. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's just so many dance trends out there on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikToks that are just specifically tailored to being easy to pick up so anyone can sort of dance to it, and it kind of pushes the music as like a non-paid for marketing. It works, and I don't blame the companies for doing that. So I just think that it's not what the music should be about, you know? It shouldn't be tailored to TikTok, it should be tailored to the artists and what the artists can put out there for their fans to enjoy. I also find that a lot of recent songs are so deliberately catchy that they have the cost of just being generic, and it just seems that every single song is getting shorter. The length of songs is being shortened to accommodate short form media. Of course, I know we have movies such as K-pop Demon Hunters, which in a way has kind of revived the K-pop genre, at least for this year, and I can't stress enough how that movie is such a brilliant gateway for the average person to try K-pop and discover that genre. But right now, the music just feels very TikTok-y compared to what it used to be. Music videos on YouTube used to be a place for artists to tell an expanded story about their music. You know, the music video would be 7-8 minutes long, and it would have like a break in between the song, just put some visuals on there. Whereas now it just seems to be so snappy and over budgeted. It's all to the point. Music videos don't really tell a story anymore, they just kind of show a visual. I feel like when you get past the face value, there's just nothing there in these videos anymore. I could really go into the more westernization of K-pop, but I think that's for another time. I think that K-pop might be more more accessible than ever, at the cost of its identity being lost. I'm hoping that the rise of K-pop demon hunters and the return of big groups like BTS in 2026, it'll just sort of generate a new fresh palette for K-pop. But in all honesty, just bring back the pastel colours, man.